Thank you.
This is the August 9th open public meeting of the Needham Library Board of Trustees, being held via hybrid format, allowing remote participation under a Massachusetts Commonwealth Act adopted during the pandemic state of emergency. First, I'll take a roll call to confirm that the trustees and library staff who are anticipated to be on the agenda are present and can hear me. Our Vice Chair Anna Geraldo-Kerr is not here tonight. Secretary Jay Fialkov is also, he may be joining us later. And then we have Tom Harkins.
Here.
Carol Thomas.
Here.
Rob Pettit.
Here.
Earhart Grafe.
Here.
And KK Hill. Here. And then staff members, Director Kim Hewitt.
Here.
Assistant Director Dimitri Kyriakis.
Here. Remotely.
Specialty, is she?
No, she just sets up for us now.
Okay, and that's it for tonight, staff?
Yes.
Okay, good. And we also, tonight we do not seem to have Joan Smith, the Library Foundation president, with us.
Do we have Faith?
Yeah, what about Faith?
Faith is joining us.
Oh,
on
she's
the call.
online.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's a panelist.
Okay, good. Good question, Carol. Okay, so this meeting is being recorded. Remote participants should be aware that others may be able to see you. Take care not to unintentionally share your screen. Please mute your phone or computer when not speaking. For members of the public attending remotely, this meeting will allow comments by means of chat function only, following any comments or discussion by the board and staff. If there is a problem that prevents the completion of this meeting, we'll reconvene at 7 p.m. September 13th, 2020. I'd like to request, and I'd ask everybody to speak up so that the recording can capture our voices tonight. So I'd like to request a motion to call the Needham Board of Library Trustees to order at 7:04.
So moved. Second.
Okay. So we have a roll call on that? All in favor? Right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, good. So just to mention, the first thing on was the informational meeting with citizens. And we were a little confused about whether that's supposed to be part of the meeting or before the meeting. And so I think that we checked out Kim. Oh no, Rob was nice enough to check on the wasn't it?
I looked at
I'm
the
sorry, you,
select
Carol. I knew somebody on that.
They don't call it the same thing as we were calling it, and maybe it's a different thing, but, I do you think we should have
The select
something similar
board
to the
does
select
it
board?
inside the meeting.
Yeah.
I don't really quite remember, since I wasn't on the board very long before COVID hit, less than a year. I don't remember how it was done. Do you guys have a preference, or, how the public opportunity to comment
I think it was.
before?
I'd be in favor of having it before.
It is the chair's, in the chair's discretion about when public comment happens at a meeting. I can double check with Katie tomorrow if you'd like about the recording piece of it.
Yeah, because I was raising the question, now that we're recording meetings, is that supposed to be a recorded part of the meeting? No. So I don't know if it should actually appear on the agenda. If it's just a very informal thing where if people show up, they can chat with individual members. That doesn't seem like it should be. I mean, I don't know what other people think.
Maybe if it is on the agenda, it should be part of the recorded meeting.
Yeah.
And maybe that really makes more sense, although the way I envisioned it was really, it would be a time and a place where a citizen could encounter, have a chat with a member of the board because they'd be there in person. But maybe now that it's all, so many
Recorded.
things are recorded and are available, maybe it's better
I
to just
would check with how
put it as part of the
some
meeting.
other boards do it.
Yeah, because Carol just checked with the select board. They do it in
The select board,
as part of it's the first
Do
thing
they?
on their agenda after the
I
call to
don't know.
order.
it
But
shows
they're
up on-
addressing the whole board.
Yeah,
actually.
but it's a member of the
Yeah,
public coming
yeah.
to address the board.
Yeah.
So if we're just talking about people coming to informally chat, like in the few minutes while we're all gathering here, that we can do, and I wouldn't put it on the meeting agenda. you know? It's not part of the meeting. But we can check with some more boards.
I haven't seen a big crowd either.
No, I know. It's like-
Is there anyone online who's attending?
Just one, I believe. And I believe it's staff.
Attendees, is there any chat?
Yeah, so well, that was the other thing I was thinking last week. It'd be nice for us to be able to see the participants who are here.
No, it's under attendees. If you click on attendees.
Yeah, somebody has to
But then
click it
someone
though.
has to,
And
So-
Dimitri's watching the chat, so if there was actual comment.
Yes, I am watching the chat. If there was a comment, I would flag you down and to say somebody would like to make a comment.
But it's also helpful for us to know, to be able to see who's in the room. You know, I like to be able to see that. So, okay, so moving on to our first real agenda item is the minutes. And I don't know, Kim or Faith, did Jay review the minutes? I know he's away.
Yes, he did.
He did, okay.
Yeah,
he
so that's the
reviewed
version you have.
So does anyone have any changes or minutes? Any amendments?
I have some.
Okay,
On page 3, under minutes of June 21st, special meeting 2022, synopsis is spelled wrong in the first sentence. With an O instead of an A.
oh, yep, synapse. Thank you, good catch.
On page 4, 2 points about language on the second paragraph under buildings and grounds.
I'm going to interrupt. I'm sorry. Can Earhart speak up? Because I'm having a hard time hearing him, and though it may come out really clearly on the recording, I'm not sure.
All right, yeah, I
So
can speak
sorry to
up.
interrupt.
That's fine.
Is this better if I speak this loudly? Wonderful. So under buildings and grounds on page 4, I know we talked about the alarms and whether or not those should be part of if we should be talking about alarms in the minutes.
Different alarms.
Okay,
Are we,
Staircase alarms.
The alarms for the staircases are a pending item that have been, that we've had a work order in for a while that's being discussed.
okay.
So that
So that's-
people can't wander up to the 3rd floor, which is
Oh, is that what those
administrative.
alarms do?
Yes,
Or-
it's,
Wander out with the work, I suppose.
yeah. It's for the staircases that are in the public areas that go up to the staff area.
Got it.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to ask about that.
so we know we don't need an amendment to that.
Extra period within the parentheses at the end of the financial report sentence.
Yeah. Ooh, we have a good copy editor.
Top of page 5, I had a question about the parenthetical statement at the end of that top paragraph. Libby is patron/username. What are we trying to say in that?
Where are we?
At the top of page 5, in the paragraph that's carried over from the previous page. We end that with a parenthetical that says Libby is patron/username, and I don't know what we meant by that parenthetical statement.
I would strike it. I'm not sure what that means either.
What category?
Libby is the app.
It's at the very top from the paragraph that's carried over from the previous page.
Yeah, my thing is my page.
Oh,
Oh,
I think we
so
probably don't need to go into that level of
yeah.
detail anyway,
I think we can
so.
strike it if it's confusing.
So I'm looking here, under old business. Where is this?
Oh, which section is it under?
so it's at the end of trust funds. The
Second to last paragraph of trust funds at the very end in the parentheses.
Just get rid of that.
So Faith, you got that? To strike that, Libby is patron
Patrons.
username. Tom, did you find it?
Yes,
I
I
did
was
find
striking the Libby as patron username in parentheses. It's the last sentence in the end of first paragraph on the top of page 5.
Yes.
You okay with that, Tom?
I see, but what should it be?
I think we're just striking it completely.
No,
Oh, striking it,
no.
okay, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I know what Libby is, but I don't really.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that.
Lastly, my name, my first name is misspelled on pages 6 and 7.
Okay,
So under seconding the motion in the paragraph right before old business. Name is spelled ERHARDT.
DG.
And same with my name spelling in number 10 MacGyver series. ERHARDT.
I wonder if there were 2 number 10.
There are 2 number 10s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good catch, Tom. So there's 2 number 10 space. So we could renumber those 10, 11, 12. 13, 14, 15.
All right, that's what I have.
I have a few things, actually.
Mhm.
First,
I'll fix
Just
the
a-
numbering so there aren't 2 10s, and I've got the name noted right in the correct place.
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you. You know, Ed, I had a few things. One is about format, whether we should be saying who's present, not only trustees and staff, but also invited guests right at the top. And say for agenda item 2, Kate Fitzpatrick, Katie King, David Davison, and there actually was.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, we also had, I don't know if you would put the members of the public, but was Doherty and
I
Lois.
don't think members of the
They
public
we
would
probably
be
would need to put
on,
that, but
on the minutes.
yeah, okay,
At least
so,
that's my impression. Other
Yeah,
people's
probably would.
opinions.
yeah,
You added it in 13 as the chair.
yeah, you
So
mentioned
it's at the
it,
end under trustee comments 13.
I mentioned what?
that they were present.
Oh. Okay, so
Yeah, we got it.
I mentioned it, but I wouldn't put it up here in the beginning as to who's attending the meeting. I wouldn't put
Um,
minutes.
And, you know, maybe we could work on the speech at the beginning is getting very muddy.
I actually
So-
just reworded it. I don't know if you noticed. So Faith,
But
well,
maybe we could
Karen,
just go over it before the
I have-
next meeting,
I have
it
some
could be the same
suggestions.
as this meeting, you know. There's no harm in it, it's just it's repetitive and
so,
For what it's
so
worth,
what are you saying?
it says members of the public can attend in person, blah, 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 at the end of the first paragraph, then. says,
Yeah.
For this meeting, the board is convening by Zoom, blah, blah, blah. it's posted
I've
on-
rewritten it, and as I read it tonight, it is much more condensed and
Oh, good.
less
Okay.
redundant.
Okay, so these minutes will just, I mean, they really don't do harm, it just, they're just.
Yeah, so Faith, I'll send you, and Rob, you had something?
for what it's worth, I wonder if we could just omit everything, members of the public can attend, everything from that all the way down to the end of that section. And, so basically just say that, call the meeting to order. I think that, this speech kind of is part of calling the meeting to order, but I'm not sure if we necessarily need to go into that level of detail for
For the
minutes.
minutes.
Oh, I see, for the minutes.
Yeah, so
I
I
see.
just,
So
I would,
there's the speech
basically-
and there's the minutes.
right, so I would keep call the meeting to order and then just kind of get rid of everything after that, just for the minutes.
Yeah, okay, so Faith, I mean, I'm okay with that.
Make life easier.
I don't think the whole little speech has to be in the minutes. So, did you hear, is that okay for you, Faith? You got that? Just
Yeah, as long as it meets as long as it's, it's not something that's necessary for the open meeting law, which I get the sense it's not, then we can probably leave it out, because I just went to that training that Anna mentioned this morning. So that wasn't really discussed. So if it's okay with Kim, I'm fine with just leaving it out. It's been in the copies, before as COVID started, so I don't know the history before November, but I'm happy to do whatever any of you want.
My thinking too is just, we don't say verbatim everything that was said at the meeting in our minutes anyhow. So if we want to make a summary of the call to order,
Right,
that makes sense. Can you, so after members of the public can attend, in that first paragraph, we're gonna strike the next paragraph?
I would delete members of the public.
starting
and
with
attended
members.
Oh,
of the
starting.
public.
So that
Okay.
sentence and everything that follows, and really,
Yeah, and for
What-
effective and
what
clear
this is
conduct, we don't
really-
need all that, right?
it's calling the meeting to order.
Yeah, it's just
Okay.
calling meeting to order. And you have to, recording who
Okay.
made the motion and who seconded and the vote.
So everything, the 2 paragraphs after that gone, and that one last sentence in the first
Yeah.
paragraph, just for clarity. I wanna
Yes.
make sure. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Can I ask one thing related to what Carol had mentioned about the invited guests at the top of the page? would you like, I think it would make sense, I'm not sure, to say, if we're saying Kate Fitzpatrick, town manager, like the way that we list out staff and who they are?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Faith, do you have
yes,
that?
I would like that too.
Assistant town manager.
Okay.
For each
Yeah.
of the others.
Mhm.
All right, so I'm going to strike the open meeting paragraph, the effective and clear conduct, but you do want to leave in, since all trustees attended in person, votes were taken by voice vote before we get to the requested emotion. That last sentence, in or out, since all trustees attended in person, votes were taken by voice vote.
I believe we were talking about the last sentence of the first paragraph is where we would
Okay.
start striking. Is that maybe the?
Yep, so-
confusion?
No, she's
Okay.
asking if we should strike that last
I
sentence, the
think
very
she's
last
confused
sentence.
about where,
since-
what
But-
last sentence we
I-
Maybe she's making asking a
Yeah,
decent question about whether that ought to stay in or go out. That last.
What do you
sentence
think?
About,
Since all trustees attended in person, votes were taken by voice. I don't necessarily think we need that.
Okay.
Anyone else think we need it?
It's really procedural and part of calling the meeting to order. And I think if you review some of the other town boards, I don't think you'll typically see this in them. Practice could vary from one to the other, but what I recall from reading some of the open meeting materials is that for minutes generally, we're just incorporating the topics of discussion and the agenda items being covered, but I think we could probably just get rid of that.
the only difference I think, Rob, would be that this, the governor's order requires that remote meetings have all votes be by roll call vote, which is, to distinguish this from that requirement, just in these times, not
True.
in general. So I don't know.
So what, we could just, if there's a roll call vote, then Faith could record that fact. If there's a voice vote, it could be, unanimously passed by voice vote, unanimously passed by roll call vote.
So maybe we don't need it now and we don't need it later. Tonight we may have somebody remote. And
Yeah, it would have to be distinguished, I suppose, and if Jay shows up, then we have to do roll call.
Well, I think we have enough people here.
Oh, we have a
that
quorum
don't
here,
really
yes.
have to worry about that.
Right.
I think it's okay. I had a couple of other things. On page 2, under minutes, the third to last line on that page, final policies will be, it says amendments, but I think it should be exhibits. The word should be exhibits. And that's what you called your policy, was an exhibit in this case. And page 5, under smoking, on page 5, review smoking policy, in the first line, it says suspend the smoking study, but it was policy.
Yeah.
It should be policy, I think. And all right, it isn't complete, but it doesn't really matter. It doesn't have to be so complete. And page 6, just formatting, if you could just bold appropriate behavior policy, just the way you did everything else for a topic.
Oh, yeah.
7. Actually, this is for clarity on page 7. The last paragraph before equity and inclusion section. If we stay under $10,000, then I wanted to say, but more work is required, that would take the cost to $10,000 or above, $10,000 or above. Then the consultants would train. I thought that was pretty significant to my mind, a piece of information. And on number 10, when you're ready,
You get that, Faith?
Yes.
under number 10 on the first line, this is actually backwards of what I was saying. Carol reported no further meetings. Period. 2 members of the subcommittee are assisting. So take out, but they are as a group assisting. This subcommittee is not helping, it's just individuals.
2
2
individuals.
individuals out of 5. So not a core, not a
Right.
quorum. And that's it. Thank you.
Okay, you got that, Faith?
Yes.
Great,
Thank you.
thank you for recording the minutes again. So Faith, our faithful recording secretary. Okay, so director's report, Kim?
Thank you.
We need to accept it.
Oh, yes, we have to accept the minutes. Yes, okay, so motion to accept the minutes
It was amended.
and second, oh.
Second, I'll
Okay,
second.
yeah, okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, passed unanimously to accept the minutes. All right, now Kim,
Thank you. So we have an English language learning collection that just started up. That was kind of the seed collection of it was funded by the Needham Community Council. They provided not only funding, but also guidance on the materials that we want to offer there. And Sarah Breen was really hard on that, so I want to give a special shout out to her. And to Kim Regan, who was the technical services person who was processing them quickly to get it all out efficiently. So we're really excited to have this be the start of such a collection. Erin Bassett is our teen librarian, is now out of the study room, which is wonderful. So we have a 3rd study room to offer the public, and she has space to store all of the teen stuff that gets
Great.
collected. Technical services is working through several projects right now. A lot of call numbers are being adjusted to make things easier for patron use. One of those projects is our folio collection, which I believe I've mentioned before, but just in case, that's our oversized books that were all shelved at the back of the nonfiction section and just had a call number of F. And that seems somewhat unfindable to a patron coming in. So we're relabeling them so that they will actually fall in line with their area within the nonfiction collection and just be shelved slightly differently in that section. So we're excited about that. Manual account has reported that staff are particularly excited about that. Certain staff are finding it all really helpful.
Yeah.
They've also moved the reference collection into the Bosworth room so that business and reference, we kind of think of those materials are often used similarly. And we have the room in there. So that's going to be really nice to have all together. We're hearing, again, really positive feedback on those things.
Could I ask you a question
Yes.
about that? I was in the Bosworth room today. Really, there's plenty of space there. But I was going to ask you whether the weeded reference materials, you said that they've been weeded. Did they go to the Friends to see if they could be sold?
Yeah, we're actually giving the Friends the first pass at anything that we need.
Yeah. 'Cause
Yes,
it
which
was
is a
quite-
new thing as well, actually.
We
Oh,
did
really?
that the last reading, and it was quite lucrative. I mean,
Yes.
it wasn't for the reference collection, because
Yes.
that collection has been weeded drastically
Yeah,
over the past few years.
yes. Yeah,
But
yeah, this weeding round was much less than that
Yeah.
because it had been recently done, but just to call it one more time before you're moving things and then
Yeah.
all of that.
Thank you.
so just to follow up, so that, because I had a little conversation with this when I came to visit the new reference
Yeah.
location. And so the books that are being removed from reference are basically being made available to the Friends. Is that the
Yes,
general policy? Okay. Yes.
yes.
Well,
that's
I
a
know there's some
policy for
really good
all
books there.
discarded books,
All
is that they
discounts.
get a first pass
First-
before we
the
would
Friends
send
get
them
first
to.
pass. Okay,
Yes.
good.
Yep, and that's a new thing that we agreed to do several months ago.
That's wonderful.
And they've been very happy with, we're very happy with too. Let's see, so we've had some really successful programs. Paint Afternoon with Chelsea is always really well attended. This was kind of a special occasion because everyone who registered actually showed up and attended, which is not very common. And so that was excellent. Performance reviews have been completed this last month. for any full-time staff who had been hired prior to July 1st of 2021. So there's only a handful of us that will have different performance evaluation dates. And that is because of the class and comp study that the town did last year. So they moved everyone's evaluation date to the start of those class and comp changes date, which was July 1st. So now everyone's kind of on the same cycle. We got a lot of patron compliments that were noted in my department head reports to me. So I wanted to, give them special attention here. So Erin Bassett was complimented for all her hard work and patience with the teens. Another patron really was complimentary of Robin Flynn and her help during, not even the tech time, actually, just helping with someone resolve a library card issue, which is excellent. And then another patron, Lynn Bloom, informed us that she has thanked our staff in her new book called Recipe. And that will be coming out soon. I forget the exact date, but that was really nice for her to stop by and let us know too.
And that Robin, she helped me with my library card
Okay.
issue too.
Wonderful.
I will say.
Patrons have been really excited about our adult summer reading prize offerings. There's a gift card to Volante Farms. We also received some tickets for things. And so those I think are going to be really popular. And Sarah Breen was accepted to the New England Library Association's New England Library Leadership Symposium, which is called NELS. And it's a really competitive program. So I'm very pleased that she got in. They generally select 4 or 5 people from each state to be part of this program. This is going to be a bit different from when I had attended, and it was like in person in an intensive thing, like a week-long intensive, and this will be spread out. So it'll be, a few hours of a meeting every couple weeks as a cohort to go through the material. So
Congratulations to her.
yes, it's
Yeah.
very exciting. And Danielle Towa went through all the community room equipment and was very pleased that everything got connected to the wireless network, the new wireless network.
Mhm.
She is also working through a backlog of collections to process in archives. She had completed work on the Larson collection and Kalmia, if I'm saying that wrong, I'm sorry, Garden Club collection items, which were things that we received during the COVID period and kind of larger collections. So she was very excited to get those done. Paula has developed a customer service plan in children's, which, my big thing is having people look up and greet you when you're kind of entering an area. And as part of that, to get her staff in that mindset, she's scheduling people to be greeters for certain periods of time when we are particularly busy in the area or in the room, so that as people come into the children's room, staff are getting more acquainted with like the people coming in, and it's that opportunity to say hello and help them to make sure they know they're not an interruption, right? So I'm really excited to see how that goes over this month. It's going well so far. We also had a nature scavenger hunt, which Paula developed. I linked in here a version of it so you can see the information that went into it. But we've gotten really excellent feedback on it. It was also featured in a monthly newsletter called Move in Libraries, and it was also sent to Hometown Weekly. I'm not sure if it actually got published in there, but it was really a lot of work and we got a lot of good feedback.
So was that a one-time event or how?
It's kind of a passive program where you can come pick up the scavenger hunt and do it on your own.
Oh, okay. Oh.
And then come in and get, like a little prize or something for completing it.
There's a sheet.
Yeah.
You look
You
for
find
this
these
or that
things.
or the
Yeah.
other, and then there's a little map of where the hiking trails are in that little.
Mhm.
Red
Have you
Wing
been out to the
Bay.
Charles River Peninsula? That's they call it the
Oh, yeah,
Red
Red
Wing
Wing
Bay
Bay.
Park, but I've
Yeah.
never heard it called that.
It's lovely.
Yeah, and it's been too hot to actually try
Yeah.
it out. Yeah, for me.
You gotta get up really early.
Really
or go
early.
really late. And Veronica McCarthy had created a really lovely summer learning page on our website to kind of link people to resources to keep kids engaged over the summer. Gina was running a stuffy camp out program, and if you are unfamiliar, it's where children drop off a stuffed animal, and Gina did all sorts of activities with the animals, putting them, reading stories or I forget. She just did a lot of.
Did they have to wear masks?
I don't know.
The animals.
I don't think so. But it was really cute, and we did also another thing that got a really, just a lot of great feedback from patrons. They were very excited about it, and the kids were thrilled with the photos from it. So that was really lovely. Paula's got some great programming in the works for September, so I'm sure you'll hear more about it then. But she's working on a Tools for Tiny Hands program, which works on fine motor skills for young children. And then raising of reader programs, which is just getting kids interested in reading. It's the typical kind of engagement stuff that we do. But that program is a partnership with Family Access. They're also hosting another community information fair in September that was very successful this past spring. I don't know if you recall, but there was a family who got hooked up with the WIC office from that. Like they hadn't realized that was available to them, came here, spoke to the person at that table, and then went and actually got the services. So that was really exciting. And we hope for more of that in September. And then we are replacing the ABC Storytime, which is a monthly Spanish story time. We're no longer going to be working with ABC Storytime. We're going to work with the Pine Street School, which is a local immersion school, and they're going to do it for free. So that'll be really exciting to see how that switch goes.
So they'll be coming here to do. Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's been great. Any questions about anything? I think people stopped me along the way.
I think we interrupted you.
Yeah, which is great.
Oh, yeah.
No, go ahead, Carol.
I was just gonna say, these seem like such great ideas, like the tiny hands motor, spine motor, for particularly,
Yeah.
certain kids,
Yeah,
Like,
Absolutely.
one of my grandkids, it's really a nice, excellent thing to practice, and I just see Paula keep coming up with good ideas, and
She really,
fertile ground.
really
Yeah.
is.
It's a nonstop
Yeah, there's
creative.
Plethora of
Yeah.
ideas.
And
Yeah,
I'm
it's
seeing
really great.
Chelsea is no longer
Yes,
working,
yes.
and I'm so sad about
I
that.
know.
but
Yeah.
So with the
Um, I
personnel,
wish her well.
yes, Chelsea is leaving her position or has left her position now. She's pursuing her artwork full time, which is really amazing, but also really terrible and sad for us because she was such a great person to have at the desk. She really connected with everyone. All kinds of patrons loved her. She just was such a personality. So it'll be a interesting hiring process to see if anyone can live up to her energy. But we're hopeful. So we are hiring for 2 circulation positions currently. The applications are due in just a few days on August 12th
Full or part-time?
for part-time.
Okay.
Yeah. And then Will Myers is one of our pages, and he is leaving to finish graduate school, actually on the same date, the 12th. So that's kind of a bummer for us too. We'll miss him, but wish him well in his last semester of grad school. Like he has to do a full-time internship, so can't spend as much time or any time with us anymore because he was doing about 14 hours a week or something. So yeah.
They will be missed.
They will. Indeed. For gifts, we had several gifts in honor or in memory of Ruth Cunningham. So Anita P. Olson donated $50 in her honor, or memory, I'm sorry. Diane and David Harold also gave $50. Peggy Brannigan and Steve Smith gave $100. And then Catherine and Barbara Collishaw gave $25 in memory of Alfred Piccoli. And Sudbury Farms Roach Brothers donated a $100 gift card for the adult summer reading program. And Fidelity Bank in Needham donated 4 Red Sox tickets for the adult summer reading program, which had an approximate value of $480. And so I would request a motion to.
For a particular fund? or
Oh, I'm sorry. It was. No, yeah, for the adult summer reading. Sorry, if I didn't say that.
All for the adult summer reading?
The
I'm
4
sorry, the
events.
last two.
Just the last 2?
Yeah.
All right, yeah, so.
And the other funds will go into the permanent donation.
Yeah, permanent donation fund.
So we just need a vote on not, which do we need 2 votes? Or,
Just one vote to accept gifts.
So moved.
Seconded.
okay, all in favor of accepting gifts to the 2 funds?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Okay. Unanimously passed.
Okay. Okay,
Yes, Dimitri?
yeah, sorry to interrupt you. There are a couple of things that Kay wanted me to point out, a couple on programming. I know we're going back a little bit. Lynn Bloom will be speaking on The Secret Life of Chocolate on Tuesday, October 18th at 7:30 PM. And there's a Pine Village Preschool first Tuesday morning each month starting in September.
Yes, I went over those. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, sorry.
Thanks, Dimitri.
Sure.
Okay. So for buildings and grounds, as you'll see, we have a slight leak in our lobby. That is not noted here because that's just started last night. That is apparently an annual event where the condensation starts to leak down in high humidity for long periods of time, which is what we've been having. So the person who would be fixing that from buildings was able to come out tonight, but they figured it would be pretty disruptive to the meeting because they tear down a big chunk of the ceiling to get up there. So they're coming back tomorrow.
This is in this lobby down
That
there.
is the buckets that are out there now.
There's no structural concerns or anything like that.
I
Assuming.
guess not.
No.
I am still figuring that one out, to be honest. I had heard tell that sometimes the condensation would leak, but this is the first time it's done it since I've been there, so I don't know.
I find it interesting that the old building doesn't leak, but the new one. leaks.
Isn't that fun?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a feature. Okay, so a company came out to do a survey on the temperature and carbon monoxide sensors throughout the building. We had filter changes in progress throughout the building. That's for the HVAC to keep everything clean. The painting of the art wall was scheduled for this past weekend and it's done now and it looks really lovely.
Great, yeah.
Yeah, it is a
Really nice.
slightly darker color and it looks really nice. Like
Yeah.
not dark, but just
Yeah,
a
it's
little darker
It's
than
a
it was.
light
Yeah.
blue, but it's darker
It was
than
really
what it
lovely.
was.
Yeah, it's lovely. And they did a great job with it. So, yes. And then Public Maintenance Department has been monitoring our AC chiller to ensure it's running smoothly because it has had some bumps here and there where they have to come out on various days because the chiller has stopped running. And that also has been going on for years. So
Yeah.
it is okay for now. Not on Sunday.
But I just asked, were
yeah.
there any results from the Cna Systems Survey? Do you know, or?
Not that I've received yet, but it's something that Angel and I are in communication about, so. Yeah.
Can I ask a quick
Oh, yeah,
question?
yeah.
So with regard to the chiller that seems to
Mhm.
misbehave and the condensation that occurs over high humidity, that seems like something that we can expect will be more frequent in the future as opposed to less frequent. Is there any way to put that like a deeper kind of inspection as to how to remediate that issue?
That is a buildings department
Okay,
purview issue, and they are very aware that
Okay.
that is a big issue for me.
all right.
So yes, it is consistently communicating to them.
Yeah, I just
all the
wanted to
time.
make sure we could make that as high priority as possible.
Yes, they are very, very, very aware of it, I
Okay.
promise.
In
Yes,
that
sir.
regard, I think that we were a relief place for heat.
Right,
Cooling station.
we are no
so
longer
far.
a cooling station officially, though.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
We're not. We're
We're
not
not.
cooling station.
They stopped that.
We have not been for a while, that's what I've been told. So
Oh, I thought
it was not a change for us this
I
year.
thought it was.
Oh, we were last.
I thought it was announced.
It
Yeah,
was
we're
announced.
listed.
We were listed.
Yeah,
Where? I mean, just
The
recently?
town-
I
Yeah,
I
the town
think the
website.
town.
Oh, well, they
Just
started-
recently for a particular weekend, they asked if our AC was working and I said, yes, so please list us, but we are not an official cooling facility.
Okay, we're not the default.
No, no, we're not.
Got it.
It's just a special occasion.
Well,
Yeah, yeah, because they've had so many AC issues in all of their buildings. So it's not just us, but that's not super comforting.
Okay.
Okay, so for pending items, a month or so ago, the electrician came and he placed all the lights by the large print section. Like they kind of had to drill into the drywall or whatever it is there. It's not like the paneling like here. And so those were installed, but they're not yet connected and he's coming back to connect those hopefully within the month. And then we have an upcoming reconditioning of the bluestone that is out in the first floor lobby to keep that, in shape and looking nice.
And I will, since Jay's not here, I'll say for him that the lights in the children's room are a big improvement.
Yes.
I think so too. And then we've got the two pending sink inside the pantry, which again, is something the buildings department is, has on their, I don't know, on their list. And then the alarms for staircase A and B. Okay. With that, we are on to the financial reports. So we have two budget and expenditures. One is for the end of fiscal year 22. Because we still have things rolling in. So we want to give the report showing that being still spent out completely. And then we have our budget for the fiscal year 23. And so we're in good shape. Obviously, we're just starting to spend. It's the first month of the fiscal year. Most of our contracts are in order at this time. We're still waiting on the Baker and Taylor books order, but our AV order went through. So we are able to spend on that normally, but it'll take a minute to catch up with what we would expect our monthly expenditures to be for materials and expenses.
For August, or as of for July.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're talking fiscal 23?
Yes.
And for fiscal 22, I see there's a $50,000 balance still remaining. What happens with that?
For the salaries?
Total.
Oh, it's mostly for the salaries. 2,000 is from the expenses line. The salaries, yes, that goes back to the town.
I had a question about the fiscal 23, because I noticed that our percent expended for expenses
Oh,
and
yeah,
book
that's-
periodicals are 50.5% and 19.1%.
Mhm.
Is that because we do a lot of license purchasing at the beginning of the fiscal year to start with contracts? I mean,
It's a lot of our contracts, like we pay, 40 something or 50 something for Minuteman, and then, all the things like that get counted out. And so you spend it throughout the year on some of those contracts, but yes, that's what that is.
But it upfront, yeah.
Yeah, it's the upfront cost, because as soon as the fiscal year changes over, we've got to sign our contracts with everybody.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, question.
Okay, so for state aid, actually, yes. let me update it. So we had our annual fee for the motion picture licensing, which is $225.67. We had an annual sponsorship for the Needham Community Revitalization Trust Fund, which is the banners that go up around town to feature the library. It was $1,500 spent out of the state aid. And then this document we will deal with the beginning balance later, but it is a different beginning balance than had been on the voted upon document from July. But we will be looking for a vote to deal with that in the new business.
Do you want to explain that then?
Yes,
Okay.
let's, if that's okay with
Yeah.
everyone, because it can make more sense to talk about when we're talking about. Oh, yeah, sorry.
Can I ask two questions about
Yes.
the state aid account?
Yep.
So in the one that doesn't have the highlighting,
Mhm.
you note that the program expenses and movie license renewal came to 3,274 instead of the budget 3,500.
Because that 200,
225 is out of the
Yeah.
expenditures.
yes,
At the top.
out of the encumbrances.
Okay, so that's under the expenditures at the top.
Yes, the encumbrances would show just what's left in that,
Got it.
like we kind of subtract from that each month.
And then underneath that, the line for WorldCat says fiscal year 2022. Should that be 2023?
Oh, yes, probably should. Thank
Okay.
you.
Carol, did you?
Was that the footnote you were correcting?
No, I wasn't even
Okay.
looking at that.
On the state aid for this month as opposed to the request. The footnote has the wrong, I think it should be July 22, 2022.
Yes. Fiscal year, not the actual year. Thank you. Okay, and then looking at trust funds. For Carly, we had a disbursement for children's books for Baker and Taylor, which was $103.96. The Hatch Fund had a disbursement of $740.04. That was for children's books for multicultural books and videos, and children's books for Playways from Find Away. And then the Permanent Donation Fund had a disbursement of $2,236.24 for children's and adult audiovisual purchases from Baker and Taylor, and digital audiovisual materials from Hoopla Midwest Tapes. Then YA spending and adult spending on fiction books from Baker and Taylor, and the English language learner books from Ingram. So as we're wrapping up fiscal of 22 spending, any outstanding back orders for materials are generally canceled and then reordered when the funding becomes available again in the new fiscal year, if they're things that were not going to arrive in a certain period of time for the town's rules. So we're waiting on one mobile book organizer. It's expected to ship anytime. We have not actually received it yet, but it was expected to ship on August 4th. So I'll be following up with Jen about where we are with that. And then that will leave us with a final budget update for fiscal year 22 next month.
For the, are you talking about for the trust funds only? That's what we're talking about.
For general spending,
Of general.
yeah, for the budget and expenditure. Which actually doesn't probably should have a separate heading, sorry. So we'll see the fiscal year 22 budget and expenditure one more time. And then that will wrap up.
And the gifts, as far as the trust funds, the gifts show up after we approve and the town approves them. What happens to those checks? Do they just sit and sit and sit until 2
No,
months down the road, everybody has accepted the gift?
we hold
or-
on to them and then, yeah, once it gets accepted, they start being processed and then a letter goes to the select board for approval, you know, for addition to their meeting, so that they approve the gift list too.
So they do sit and sit and sit, really.
Until,
For,
Yeah.
when do the checks
up to
get
4
cashed?
weeks. Yes.
Yeah, probably at
Yes.
least, yeah.
Yes. Although when it's a gift for like, actually, yes, that is true. They do just say. Let's see. We have our statistical report. So I was happy to see CERC was up a bit, just 2.37%. It outpaced circulation in June from 2021 as well. Registrations were up quite a bit, 37%. Website hits were up as well, 27%. And library traffic was up 33%. So those are all really good trends. I'm hoping for those trends. Adult and children's programs saw higher attendance in June, but YA had gone down slightly, which actually it coincided almost exactly with the drop in programs offered. So that was kind of funny. And room bookings are up 7.69%. So like bookings for, you know, like the community room, things like that, not the study rooms.
Oh, okay.
So excited to see those things. People seem like they are returning. And you know,
Did you say website hits were up? Am I looking at the wrong thing here? So I'm seeing,
Versus last month.
yeah, versus
Yeah.
last year.
oh, I'm looking year over year. Okay. I see. Yep.
Yeah, and I think versus last year makes sense because last year was a brand new shiny thing. People weren't coming
Yeah.
in as much. So they were really
Right,
heavily utilizing them.
people we're staying home more
Yes, yes.
going on there.
So
Okay.
excited about the numbers. I think when we have some new collections coming into play, like the video games, library things, the English language learning materials, hopefully we'll just see these numbers continue to grow and pick up.
What is the status of the library of things?
We're hoping for a September rollout, so I'm excited to get there. We have a couple moves in play for like the bookshop has to move to its new area, then the holds have moved. We're preparing to move the holds. I think I think we were thinking either right before Labor Day or right after. Have it on my calendar. Sorry, I don't remember what we decided. But then once that is done, we would be looking to put out the materials for the library things.
Can I ask about the lost items revenue windfall?
Mhm.
Why did we all of a sudden reclaim $753?
That's things that get just marked as lost and people pay them either online or sometimes people come in person, but that could be something that they marked lost at any library if it was our item. Although typically they are supposed to call us, but it could be just a family decided, oh, we can't find all these books or we moved and whatever, and so they pay for the replacement cost.
Okay, so we didn't do anything like clear a bunch of lost items into notices or something. Okay,
No, we do, there's a monthly process for that.
got it.
How do we still collect those refunds?
Because when people take things out of hours from other libraries that are not fine free and then return them at that library, it's a, Minuteman operates a when in Rome system. So if you're, I don't know, in Newton and they are not fine free, if you return the book there, you're gonna get charged and then you might pay online or whatever. If we saw that here, we would wipe it, but unless you're returning and taking out from here and returning here, our materials aren't fine free no matter where they go, if that makes sense.
So not all Minuteman libraries are fine free yet.
Oh, no, definitely not. I mean, there's a growing number. It's certainly like, I think a lot of people use COVID as a way to disband them temporarily at least, and maybe not brought them back officially.
So if we take a book out from a different library that's not fine free and we don't return it on time, what happens?
Well, if you check it out here, it goes under our rules,
Yeah.
like our loan rules. If you went there and took it out there,
Oh,
you would
then you pay the
potentially
fine.
end up with a fine. Yeah, yeah. It's wherever it was checked out from,
Okay.
not who owns it. Yeah.
Good.
Okay. Okay. I think that brings us to new business.
Okay.
That-
So Kim, you want to talk about
Yes.
your amendment to the
Yes.
state aid plan budget?
So I'm requesting an amendment to the July approved budget because Jenna caught a formula issue where if you look on the document that has the highlighting, is trying to make it easier to understand. But Alphabet Software and Revitalization Trust Fund numbers were not being totaled in the total. And so when we corrected that, it puts us over by about $3,000. And so my suggested amendment would be taking that $3,000 out of the strategic planning consultant line item, which had previously been approved for $28,000 and would now be $25,000 if approved, simply because we do not plan to spend all of that money. That seems like the best option.
Carol?
Motion, I move to approve this amendment request.
All right, we have a second and then we can discuss if we have any further. Okay, second by-
Under new business.
Seconded.
Okay, good, second. So do people have any questions about, it's basically about $3,000, right, Kim,
Yes.
that formula didn't add up correctly. And so as to make up that 3,000, we're kind of lowering the consultant amount.
Yes.
So I have that correct. And
I want to know
Jay.
if Jay has joined us.
Hi, Jay.
All right.
we have
Hello.
Jay.
Hey, Jay.
And I'm familiar with what you're talking about, so I'm informed about it. But thank you. Hello, everybody. I apologize for being a little late tonight.
Where are you?
We're in the Cape. We're at Ocean's Edge, and so my son and his family and my daughter and her family, we're all here for the week.
Welcome. We're glad you joined us. So we're just about to take a vote on we have a motion and a second. So on the amended state aid plan budget, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? No opposed, so it's passed unanimously.
Thank you. I'll grab that for.
Okay, who did the motion? I couldn't hear the motion in the second. Who did?
I did.
Motion was Carol.
Guilty as charged.
Carol of the soft voice.
And then
Yes, that's okay. And
And
the second,
was
Earhart seconded.
Earhart with a D. I mean.
okay,
Yeah,
DT, I get it. Thank you.
I'm not sure if that was Earhart's first second,
no.
No, it's not.
or if I missed one, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, so then the next items I believe were K.
Yeah, so this one, basically, I mean, it's really strategic plan discussion, but we did want to talk about the space plan and how it might intersect with the strategic plan. I guess I might have put this down with the strategic plan, but since it's here, do you want to address that, Kim, or does one of the strategic plan?
I think Kim would be
Working
best off because we've had this conversation and she's comfortable with how it all will work. I think Kim.
Yes, I think this was here because there were questions coming from different folks around what their thoughts were about it. So I don't know if you want me to be telling you how I necessarily see it, but I'm happy to.
So what's the question, basically? I mean, does somebody want to phrase that?
So I think the
What's the
question or the sort of the topic is, we've got two major studies coming up, or studies or plans. One is the strategic plan process and the other is the space plan. And how should one inform the other? What's the right order of operations? How can one be used to
Yeah.
leverage and add value to the other?
So as Jay said, we've had this conversation as part of our strategic planning thinking too. So first I want to give just a timeline too of the space planning, because I just got an update from the Permanent Public Building Committee. So our first potential meeting will be November, where they will be putting together a request for quotes, an RFQ for design firms. And that's mostly their job to do. They handle that for all of their projects.
The town.
The PPVC
Yeah.
specifically. Yeah, and that gives, then they're hoping to select a design firm in January's meeting. So we have this window of time, I think, to get a good way into our strategic planning process. And the way that I see it really is that the strategic plan is our goals and vision overall. And that should be like our biggest picture. Like for me, that's the highest level thinking, right? And the space planning is informed by all of the community input that we got, plus the community input they're going to get. And so I think several of us have spoken, and it seems like most of us are on the same page too, that just that would help inform what we do with the interior space to achieve our goals, right? To work in effect of getting our goals, but also if we're not able to do that with the space that we currently have, we need to be able to make that case as well. And it'll help make that argument as we end up with a space plan and, need a budget for it from the town. And yeah, and I think the other way around, like completing the, space planning study before the strategic plan would limit us, like you're having then the building is dictating your goals. And I really want the goals to be out there and what we're trying to achieve, and then getting our space to align with that the best we can. So that's
Can
kind of how
can I interrupt just 1 second, Kim, because just so that we're clear on one thing. Because we're referring to the interior space.
Mhm.
And I would think that a space plan would consider not only the interior space, but perhaps also the outside space.
It does not.
It does
That is
not at
what
all.
was- That's not what was approved at town meeting.
Huh. Because I've read and heard about libraries who have made interesting uses of their outside space. It seems like at some point we should give that some consideration too.
Definitely, but that's unfortunately not part of our
Okay.
scope for this.
Does anyone have the language that was approved at the town meeting with us? But I think that Kim's correct, Jay. I seem to remember
Yes.
at town meeting, those of us who were there, that I think it was an interior space planning, but I'd have to refer
It was not,
Certainly the way it was described was
interior.
interior work.
It's not limited to
Okay.
the second floor, though.
No, not
No,
only the second,
Definitely not.
but all the interior.
But all the interior space.
The team room was given as an example.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, I think that was the intention, Jay.
yep, okay, thanks, sorry.
Would be a long, that's.
Yeah, I mean, it would
a
be nice-
bigger, longer journey.
Yes,
Um,
got it.
Yeah,
Good thing to look
Yeah.
into in the future, though.
yes.
There's not much exterior space out there,
I know.
unfortunately.
You're right.
Um, So I think we just had this as an opportunity to have discussion about that but if, if we're all kind of on the same page.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense to me. So
Yeah.
that using the next few months to get our goals set for the strategic plan and then, with it sounds like they've been selected, what did we say?
January thinking. Yeah.
So we'd have those goals set,
Yeah.
so the space planner could understand what they are. Makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Anyone else have a comment? Rob?
I think it makes sense, and just thinking about how this will play out, whatever recommended space plan changes come out of the space plan will require advocacy and discussions, and having the strategic plan to back up what the priorities are and what the community's needs are will help to move that part along for the space planning, to have something kind of, behind it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have a question.
Okay.
I raised my hand with my little symbol.
Oh, yes, I see that. Okay.
Now that we're talking, which is, I try, because sometimes I just interrupt, but now that we have the sense of the time frame, is now the right time, Kim, to talk about where we are in terms of the strategic plan and the consultant? Would this be the moment to do that?
We have that under old business. I'm
Oh,
happy to.
okay.
Yeah, we have that item, Jay, coming up.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just thought it
So we
seemed
have
to.
like 3 things that actually intersect slightly
Yeah,
with the
they all do.
strategic plan.
Okay.
So,
One more question about space plan.
Yes.
When do we need to name the folks to the?
Probably September or October. I would say probably September, but that's Kay and I have a monthly meeting where we set the agenda. And that is on my list to. talk to
name
you
the
about.
folks, you mean you're talking about the
For
consultants?
for the user
The
group.
user representatives?
Yeah.
For the.
Oh,
space
right,
plan?
okay.
We'll probably see that in September if I had a little.
Okay.
As in, we'll need to deliver our recommendation to them?
We'll need to discuss it
So
then.
that'll be on our
Yeah, yeah.
agenda.
They don't have to know until November,
Got
so
it.
we would want to decide during our October meeting at the latest.
Thank you.
All right, so, so just an opportunity now, the next item is to comment on, any comment on the July visit from town managers? Did we hear anything that people wanted to discuss or any reaction or thoughts? Carol?
I'm just very appreciative that all 3, the 2 town manager and 2 assistants, all, spent the time to come address, to keep us up to date. It's really been, the communication has been so much better the last couple of years since we've had them visit once a year. And now it was not just Kate and Dave, but it was Katie as well. And, they all were useful,
Yep.
they all relayed information that I was really, thought I wanted to know.
So Faith, can you make sure the record reflects that, the Carol's comment about how important and useful it was for us to have all 3 town managers came and it was very helpful. Anybody else have thoughts or reactions? Okay, great. I think that was important to say, Carol. So the community survey results, that was just another thing that came out. Kim was helpful to share that, and there were some insightful things that we actually might think about as we move forward with our strategic plan.
Yeah.
Don't try to print it, by the way. I made that mistake.
Oh, yeah, it's
too
many
long.
I printed just a few relevant pages, and kind of most importantly
I
was.
I had to stop it in the middle. My printer was complaining.
Oh, yeah, too many pages. I just selected a few, and I did, as Kim noted, I think the library got it. What was it,
Very
96?
high.
Very high mark, 96% positive rating for the library. Yeah, I think we shouldn't rest on our laurels, but we should definitely take a moment and breathe that in. So.
I think having this fresh in the town management mind is gonna be super helpful as we ask them for their input on our strategic plan, on the space planning, because they have that bigger town picture, right? But they see how important the library is to everybody and how people feel about it. And the different things like, Kay, I know you had mentioned, like, there were some things that stood out as community needs that the library could play a role in. And so that's gonna be really helpful when they're part of our focus groups and things too. I think like this is gonna be a great source of information to mine for that. So it came at really the perfect time for us. Not that they planned it that way, but it just works out.
Yes, yes. So, and there are some needs and preferences expressed here that we can and will, as Kim just said, play a role in. And I thought this one chart, this dot chart on this page was quite interesting, because when you compare what the things on two axes, the importance of certain services versus the rating of quality against certain services. So I just thought that it was one thing that kind of surprised me a little bit, was that in terms of importance, education, arts, and culture was not that high, which is kind of our realm. And parks and recreation are high, but the quality was sort of low. So it gives you some interesting perspective from how the town perceives certain services that are provided.
Yeah.
Did people have other thoughts or comments from reading survey results?
Can I add a comment?
Hey, yes.
I don't know to what extent the town and Cindy Roy Gonzalez is going to be publicizing all of this, but we should probably be in communication with them so that if there is any, publicizing of this, the positive reviews for the library could be featured.
That's true. We should ask her to put it in the news. You need them.
I believe it was
It's
there.
in there already. Good. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. It was. I don't think of it.
I keep signing up for that and I keep not getting the emails. I'll keep trying.
Spam.
So I do,
Yeah.
I have to bring up my background in kind of design. When we talk about this data visualization. So if you note the comment here on the side, there are median rankings for importance and quality that they're taking from the survey results, which become the axes that you're looking at, the things that are, in the middle. And so when they're talking about higher quality and lower quality and more important, less important, those are relative to the things that they are surveying about. They are not absolute measures of quality or absolute measures of importance.
They're not relative to each other.
No, they're based on the median rankings of the folks who are taking the survey. So when we compare these things, it's not like, economy is up here and it is high importance and high quality in a way that like inclusivity engagement is somehow, absolutely bad and less important. And so it's just important to think about what this is actually saying. So we would want everything to be moving in that upper right-hand corner,
Yeah.
but it's important not to say that these things are necessarily bad. And this is where, it might be helpful to have a conversation with the survey consultants that did this and how they actually describe these things. But how I read this is that they're only lower quality relative to the other things that they are surveying about. Right? Or lower importance relative to the other things they're surveying about. They're not bad.
Yeah, okay, I see.
Right?
Yeah, so
Like we're
health
not
and
providing
wellness is
bad
not
educational
that
arts
low
and culture.
importance,
Or low importance.
but they rated economy higher.
Right.
So it is relative. It's all relative to each other. as
Yes,
opposed to-
across the items that were surveyed.
Absolutely. Okay. It is, okay. All right, that's a good point. Well, I'll take it. I mean, it's an interesting way to chart out this data.
Well, it's because everything's above 50%. And so things get a little
Oh,
confusing
yeah.
as to how you
That's
talk about
True.
good or bad, or high or low.
I know, I was
Okay.
surprised, like, there were some things in here that if I read the percentage, I would have said, oh, that doesn't sound good. But then the percentile of the ranking was high, and so there are things that we exceeded the national benchmark, like watching a local public meeting, 35% of people or, reported
Yes.
have, but it puts us in the 84th percentile, which
It's
is
still very high.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, yeah, okay, yeah,
And
okay.
according to this, they got 23% back of 630 residents.
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
not 23% of 630. I think it's a total, they got a total of 630 responses. And 23% of those surveyed responded, right?
Okay, I would read it.
That's my understanding. Anybody else have that, read that
That
differently?
was what I understood.
Yeah, so, okay, so, well, yeah, so Needham scored, I can think, pretty high on most things. And when you look at the exceeding the national benchmark, it's pretty much
They sent out
exceeded
2,500
on just other.
surveys, right? Is that right around that?
What's that?
They sent out around 2,500 surveys.
I don't know.
So I think 23%,
600.
630,
roughly 4 times 53 is
Okay.
right?
right, roughly 25.
45.
Okay, so if there are any further comments on the survey for now, we can refer back to that as we talk about the strategic plan. And old business. Okay, so the strategic planning process update.
Yes. So I've spoken to 4 consultants and spoken to a number of other directors about various consultants that they worked with outside of those 4 or in that group. I'm waiting for proposals from 2 of them. We need to have at least 3 official submissions. If we're going to stay under 10,000, that's the one requirement. We very much like 3 of the candidates and felt they would do an excellent job. And we certainly have a favorite, I would say. But we're waiting for the official proposals to really make that selection. I think we all agreed that they would all work well, but there are various, they have variations on similar approaches, really focusing on what the community needs are and how the library can work to meet those versus just what the library kind of wants to do. There are some, different factors at play for each of them. One had several plans that we looked at and really liked, and a great approach, but would require a little bit of a longer project period than others, like somewhere maybe around April. One is someone that I've had a professional relationship with. They are local and they would be able to wrap up the project by January. And they of course also have a great approach. One worked with Needham recently on another matter, but they would only be able to do about half the work that we want done while staying under $10,000. So we want to see all of the official proposals before making a decision about who will be the right fit. But I don't know if Jay and Rob, do you want to give any more updates or?
I would only add, I think, and I think Rob agrees, but he can say it also. We were all impressed by all the candidates and by Kim's approach, thoughtful approach to all of this. And for my part, I feel entirely comfortable saying I'm comfortable supporting whoever Kim would prefer, honestly. And to some extent, I think it would be preferable for us, for us to for her to move forward, however, whatever she ultimately decides, coming up, so that, with the idea that she doesn't have to wait until the next board meeting before her moving forward with whatever she might think is appropriate in terms of the consultant. Those were my general thoughts about it.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Jay. I've seen the work that all 3 of those consultants have done and the proposals that we've received so far. Personally, I'm fine with all of them. We already have voted to set aside this money out of state aid that's sufficient to cover any of these proposals. So I'm all in favor of, Kim's kind of got the ball on this.
Mhm.
And I wouldn't want to delay the selection process further to sort of have any sort of further screening at the September meeting.
I would add also that Kim's plan, it seems, is going to involve us paying less than $10,000, which is substantially less than we thought we might have to pay at one point when we weren't sure how we were going to go about that. So with all of those factors, I think we're in a very good place for Kim to sort of decide and move forward with whatever's next.
Well, I would like to learn exactly what the tasks are that we're gonna have them do. Are there proposals available?
Yeah.
So we can see, you know, so we know, the rest of us can know what exactly we're gonna have.
Yeah, so it'll cover focus groups, generally writing the plan, like doing a survey. So yes, the focus groups, it's about 4 to 6, depending on kind of what we would decide with them as we went along.
Can we see something that is gonna describe what we're hoping the consultant can do? I mean,
Did you
I would
lay
like-
it out?
Can you share the proposals is what you're asking?
I'd like to,
No,
well, what's
no.
our list of tasks that we want them to do?
Well, so our list of tasks is those,
Yeah, so
Kind of, yeah,
I'd like to
is-
see that maybe written so that I have.
so because it depends on what the person charges per hour and per task, it differs based on the consultant, right? Like, if we went with the higher pay, like the highest option consultant, they can only do about half of what we would ultimately like them to do. We'd like someone to get us soup to nuts
Mhm.
from the start to a final product. That is our ultimate.
Including substantial drafting.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
our ultimate goal. There's one that could do about half that work and then would need staff to do the writing of the plan ultimately, in order to stay under $10,000. And if we decided we want to go over $10,000 and do a request for proposals, there's no way we'd ever get that person because they're going to be nowhere near the bottom cost. If we have so many other consultants that would stay under 10,000 to begin with. So we're weighing, you know, that obviously has a significant weight to it. That's not necessarily what we're looking for. So we're looking for someone to run the focus groups, to help us craft a survey with our input and guidance, compile the results, pull out trends and themes, have those conversations with us, have focus groups with the trustees and friends, and then to really draft the plan with, again, input from the advisory team, and then ultimately with, you know, input and result, or input and voting from the board on the final.
So
plan.
could someone write up that little list so we would have that rather than me
Sure.
just scribbling, all of us just scribbling it down? It'd be nice to be able to have a reference so that we know.
That
what-
would be your ideal. That's your
Yeah,
wish list.
That's the ideal,
Yeah.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it does differ based on the person and their costs. We were hoping, we're supposed to get I think the last proposal, or the last 2 next week. And we would like to be in a position to move to make a selection then, and then have the person come to the September meeting to start talking to the group.
So that would be the visioning session
Not
you're talking
necessarily a
about, or-
visioning session, but I think to like meet them and hear about what the plan ultimately is and just get to know them.
Well, we were talking about, I mean, that's kind of coming up on the agenda, so the visioning session where all of us trustees, we had talked about that, doing that in September, right?
Yes. it has.
So,
Yeah. So if we had the person here, if they were able to come to our
Mhm.
meeting, but that's a if, right?
right,
If they were here, I would suggest that, yes, them staying and listening in, if that was comfortable for everybody, would be okay, but you're also gonna be participating in the focus groups. So it depends on how the board wants to do that. Like if you wanted that space without the consultant yet, to
Mm.
just think through and brainstorm together, that's fine, because then you're gonna have the opportunities to take what you get out of that to the actual process.
Can I say something? I think potentially it would be a
Okay.
benefit. It would be a benefit for us if we would all have an opportunity to spend some time with the consultant while we're having that sort of conversation. I don't know how many opportunities we'll all have, but it seems like one of the benefits of moving forward in the meantime would be that we could have that person join us for that conversation, which sounds possibly like a positive thing.
It's up to you. Like I would defer to whatever you, like, if you feel like you want that to be first brainstorming all together as a group,
Mhm.
because you're not necessarily gonna be in the same focus groups, I think, for quorum reasons.
Right.
So if
Yeah, I
you
do think
wanted
we
to
should
do
have
that,
a group.
yeah, so if
Discussion.
you don't want
Yeah.
that to be kind of like, feel like you're being listened to while you're exploring some different ideas from the consultant side, then we wouldn't want to do that. But also it really depends on if we're able to actually move forward and select someone in the meantime, and that they could come to that meeting. So that's,
Anyone have thoughts about that? About
I guess I'm unclear. Were you thinking of a visioning meeting that was just part of our September meeting or a separate meeting that was strictly visioning?
Here's my idea.
yeah,
So,
it's okay.
Oh,
yes, I was thinking of it as part of the
Part of
September
the
meeting where this would be our first opportunity. We have
Yeah.
never discussed yet what kind of goals or vision we have.
for the new
We haven't
plan?
done that yet as a board. Rob, I mean,
Well, I think
Tom,
our
sorry.
visions are, in our trustees. Trustees goals, trustees bylaws, our visions.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, that's a good source
And so, I
of,
mean, that's very general,
right.
probably vague. But, yeah, but my question is, so you've had you've dealt with 3 people already, right?
4, yeah.
4.
Yeah.
And you're waiting for 2 more?
No, I'm sorry. The 2 proposals we're waiting for are of the 4, or like from
okay.
within that group
Alright.
of 4. Yeah.
So you've gotten 2, of the 4 people, you've gotten 2 proposals back. And
Yes.
You're waiting for 2 more,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah.
And in that time frame, you'll probably, before the next meeting, you'll pick someone, right?
Yes, that is what we'd like to do.
Yeah, and so isn't it a little quick in September 13th is our next meeting.
Yes.
Is that reasonable time to have that person come here or something? Would they be,
I think
they be in
so.
line?
If we're able to, like, if their schedule works.
Would they have enough information from us so they could tell us what they were going to be doing? Do they have that already?
Yes, they have, like, because they're submitting
Yeah,
proposals to us and
yeah.
we're selecting the proposal that makes the most sense for us.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
That sounds. that's fine.
So the September meeting, like, could just be more of the meet and greet and them explaining what the process will look like.
Mhm.
Or it could be a paid thing where they are getting paid to listen to the brainstorming and use that as part of their work. But it's up
I
to you
don't
all. It just feels like maybe you want to
I
brainstorm
think
first.
I prefer the form of that,
Which is,
non-paid,
Yeah, just a
Non-
meet and greet kind of situation.
not
Meet
a
and greet.
formalized, informal situation.
yeah,
And
I think so
don't
too,
think we should have to
because
pay
this is the very
to
first
give our
opportunity to,
opinions.
sorry.
We should have to pay her to listen to our opinions, because that's what she's doing anyway.
Yeah, that's what she's gonna do. is-
This is one part where, this is really about getting our collective thoughts together without,
Right.
There'll be plenty of other opportunities for other constituencies and for the consultant to add their input, but this is just our way of collecting our input, so I'm not sure that we necessarily need to have
The
a consultant there
at
for that part of it.
Yeah, I feel like it would be a little premature.
Yeah.
And so the consultant, if they can show up at the September, maybe we just show up
Right.
briefly to. have
Yeah, I
them-
think we would add them to the agenda,
Yeah,
it's just an
we're not-
introduction and an explanation.
And
of
it's a
what the
public meeting,
process-
so they could
Right.
obviously,
Well, yeah,
watch
yes,
it.
that's true.
But-
That's
but-
true.
there's a difference between having someone
Eh,
be able to
yeah,
access it, or watch it and being part of it.
I would agree.
I would just add one thing, if that person is going to come, it might be useful to let them know in advance what we're planning to do, to see if she has any thoughts or guidance for us about our exercise. What our conversation, she might, have thoughts that would be useful to share with us about that, before we
Well, I
have
mean-
our conversation.
I thought, Jay, because first of all, I don't know if anybody here is good at running that sort of brainstorm, idea discussion, facilitating it. I can't claim that I'm not great at that. So I don't know if that might be one role, I mean, it's a possibility to have the consultant, if they're available, actually, kind of facilitate the discussion. We all would have to come prepared, and we might want to share articles. We lost Rick Hardy, who used to love to send articles around. So, we should pick up the ball on that.
I think though, you're gonna be sharing articles with each other potentially at that meeting. Is that the way? So like, you might want time to read those things after, before you're really officially being listened to by the consultant.
But it may be useful to share the articles in advance as we find them,
I think so.
compared to just saving them for the meeting itself.
So how do we feel? Do we want to just have our own discussion, share some articles with each other in advance, come prepared to have some specific, Needham specific ideas about what the Needham Library of the future should look like, what kind of innovations we are looking for, what kind of populations are we trying to serve, and how's the town changing, that kind of stuff.
One thing I might like to see is the strategic plan the consultant has done on the libraries. You said you've seen copies of that, right?
For
Other
some
one.
of them. One of them is newer to consulting, but that's the one I have the professional relationship with, and she's done them for the library. She's been the director of. So we feel pretty comfortable with that as an option.
So she's done as a director, she did a
Yes,
strategic plan.
yes.
That's
She's
how
done
we-
many strategic.
That's how we
plans.
used to do it.
Yeah, she's done many,
Excellent.
and she's working on one right now for a different town, but it is not yet complete.
And sometimes, and when we first did, what they call 5-year plans, then
Mhm.
we, the trustees did. And doing it.
Am I
Okay.
correct? Am I correct, Kim, in thinking that the general notion is a 3-year plan as compared to a 5-year plan? Is that what you're hearing?
I'm kind of going back and forth on that, to be honest. So I think potentially while we're doing a building plan, it might be beneficial to have a 5-year plan that carries us through a good chunk of that project.
Mm.
Versus trying to do this again in the middle of
Yeah.
potentially building
Yeah.
stuff. So my thinking on that has sort of shifted. A lot of places are shifting to doing shorter, but I think if you're building a good strategic plan that is like flexible, that should get you to 5 years just fine and not
Got it.
be
Yep.
reinventing the wheel halfway through a building plan.
So Tom, were you asking to see specifically strategic plans that have been done by the consultants we're interviewing, or just generally see some other libraries?
No,
strategic
and the
plan?
consultants would,
One
the
the
consultant
consultants
would do it,
have
because that
done.
would
Whoever
give us
she's
Yes.
chosen.
an
We would-
idea of what. you
We
know,
would definitely
we-
share,
Yeah,
yes.
that's what
like
she's
whatever they
comfortable with,
have.
that's what she's experiencing. And so that's what we're basing some of our decision on.
Yeah.
This decision is being
Okay.
based upon how she's done plans before, or he.
So you're asking if we could see, the board could see some of,
Well, I think it'd be helpful.
It'd be
in that-
interesting.
And,
is that a possibility?
and
We
how
can
is this, I'm jumping the agenda here a little bit, but how is that connected? One of the things, the brainstorming session of the library of the future.
That's what we're talking about. We've kind of melded it into one discussion
Yeah.
here.
You did, okay.
Yes. That's what we're talking about. So that was, I just wanted to put that on the agenda as to sort of give notice to all of us that we should come prepared in September to, talk about the brainstorming, the
One
future
trustee-
of Needham
one
Library.
trustee knows a lot about the library of the future.
Yes,
I am
we're
happy
hoping
to
to hear
share
some
what I
interesting
know.
things from Earhart.
But I'm also curious as to how we scaffold that conversation, because I think that I do have experience facilitating these types of discussions on brainstorming. I'm happy to support that effort.
Mhm.
But I would certainly want to see the materials that, the strategic plan work group has been putting together to help inform their decisions about, the decision for who to hire, and some of the examples of strategic plans that you all have been looking at us to come up with the list of things that you want. I think that would be helpful for all of us to see
Yep.
Ahead of that
Yeah.
September meeting. And then if there are other things that you've been looking at, and that maybe Kim could point us to, that would be helpful to read and say, this is some good indications of kind of what that horizon is for public libraries that we should all be considering, so that we can read some of those materials, articles, et cetera, ahead of the meeting, because all of that we want fresh in our heads as we're coming in to discuss and share out what we're getting excited about from those
Yeah.
materials and from our own
Yeah.
experiences.
That's very true.
Kay, what is the date of the meeting? Because it may make sense to set a time like September 1st or something like this, by which we, we'll.
Yeah, was it September 13th?
So, or maybe, so it doesn't have to be September 1st, but maybe some, several days at least in advance of the meeting that, or a week in advance perhaps, that the materials would, I mean, it's not like a deadline, it's just a goal, with the idea of everybody having an opportunity to think about this stuff and consider what everyone's sharing.
So among the materials we're hoping for are strategic plans that have been devised by the candidates, right? Okay. And Earhart, you're talking about.
Well, that's a different thing, Kay, just so
That's
I'm clear, because that's down the road. So by asking for that, are you telling Kim that that we're not comfortable with her going forward, say over the next week or two? Is that what we're saying, to be clear?
No,
Okay, so then, so seeing the plans that they've worked on is simply for an after the fact type thing.
what are you thinking, Tom?
I was thinking that there's no point getting plans to the people who didn't select.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
so I think just the right.
Yes,
Really
we'll
just-
definitely provide.
Sorry,
them
missed
to the
this.
person.
To see
Okay.
examples of the strategic plans that
Got it. I just wanted to be clear on that point.
would be
Yeah.
helpful to us.
Oh, the decision is not,
And there might be a couple of towns where even if it's somebody who we're not, who's not even involved with this, I know there were a couple that
Their
we really
plans we
liked. I
liked.
think we like Framingham's, for example.
Yeah.
So we can always toss those in.
Which they had
just
done
for
on their
reference.
own,
I think those
not
would be
using.
They get the
consultants.
scaffold.
we could do that.
Yes.
That would be
Yeah.
part of the process afterwards, but I think this would be a good, topic of discussion with the person who's
Yeah.
selected. And I think it's a good initial, contact.
There may
I
be
think I
some-
might have already shared the link for the Framingham plan some time ago in an email, but just for.
That may have been to Rob and I,
Not to
I'm not
me,
sure. if
yeah.
Oh,
it's-
okay.
I think maybe some resources might be available at the MBLC
Yeah,
as well.
Although
The
I-
handbook or other materials.
I feel that those seemed pretty dated compared to some that we found on our own.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think we have to remember, for those of us who have not been involved in the choosing these candidates, is we're just beginning. So we need to have some materials to begin to work with.
definitely.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll definitely think about it. Sorry, just making notes about the things to remember to.
Right, okay. Anything specific, Earhart, that you wanted to see? I know you-
I mean, the things that I was listing out were exemplar, strategic plans
Yeah.
from other municipalities, in their libraries that we want to look at. And I think we should be very, open to that. It doesn't necessarily just need to be kind of like, communities that are similar to ours within
Okay.
Massachusetts. We should be looking nationally or internationally for plans that have really kind of interesting approaches and are raising interesting issues about what public libraries can do.
You're
And
getting
so-
out of New England now and then can't hurt.
Yeah,
That's
we
right.
definitely
Yeah.
looked, we have a list compiled already of like San Jose has a really
Oh.
lovely one that I love. And so we've been sharing those things and compiling them into a document that I have. So those are the types of things that I would like to
Okay.
share as we
That'd
move
be
along.
But then also, if there are some articles, even the ones that have been shared in the past,
Mhm.
groups and others, that are provocative to help us kind of think about.
Yeah, I
what's
can
on
look
the
back
horizon.
through Rick Hardy's, because he's, periodically sends us.
No, we should come up with a system that will archive all of this stuff, so it'll
Yeah, if we
continue.
could
to
drop
be
it all
available
into,
reference.
Google,
into a Google Drive or something
yeah.
like that, we could share that link out to all of us as pre-reading. That would be really helpful.
In terms of looking all around the country, we did exactly that when we were coming up with the job descriptions for the library director, when we were, going through that process. We were looking at the job descriptions from libraries all over the country to help guide us on that.
I think the other thing that I might recommend that we do is maybe, I'm happy to have a conversation with strategic planning working group, a subcommittee. How do you describe it?
Advisory.
Advisory group.
Advisory,
Okay,
yeah.
advisory. Yes, just to come up with like a couple of high-level questions to kind of get us thinking ahead of time to send
great
out. So
idea.
like 3 or 4 questions that kind of just kind of force us to do the research and put down some of our ideas ahead of time, so that when we're coming in, we can quickly kind of rely on those when we're starting to
Good
brainstorm.
idea.
That's a
Okay.
great idea.
You wanna generate that?
And we can, I suppose we can all give some thought in the meantime to what sort of questions we might want those to be.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So what's our deadline for coming up with the questions so that we know what we need, when we need to meet by and get that out to people?
I think ideally we have all of that stuff sent out 2 weeks ahead of the next meeting. So we have enough time to read it. And
Yeah.
just
At least
reflect.
by the end of August.
Yeah.
That's what I was suggesting, yeah.
Okay. That sounds good. And so it sounds like, if I make sure I understand, for September, if the consultant has been chosen and is ready to meet with us, we will meet and greet with them, but not have the consultant kind of be part and involved in our brainstorming session. Is that what we're?
They could be in and out near the beginning and introduce themselves and maybe say a couple of words about themselves, you know, just so that,
Mhm.
you know, we start to get to know.
But they
them.
won't be sitting with us during the discussion, or they can, because it has to be. Is that, do people feel like
I'm
that's
on
the way we
board
want
with
to do it? Okay.
Yeah.
Can I ask one thing too? So I had that shared drive for trustee orientation materials. Would you like me to just add a folder there maybe to collect some
Yeah.
articles? Because I think
Yes.
it would
That's
be
great.
helpful for anyone who's a new trustee at any point to kind of just maybe
Great.
have some resources.
Yep.
I can just make a folder and share it with you all and within that.
That sounds good.
That would be great.
Where is the folder? On Google?
Google.
It's a Google Drive.
So I had
folder.
shared the
Did you- were
trustee
you able to see
orientation
that?
packet.
I can never get into these Google
Oh,
Drive
no,
things unless I
um,
use a, you know, an email from another organization.
Oh, really?
I
Yeah,
just-
it
I
doesn't
don't
like
know.
my email either. I've set up. a
Maybe I'll
Google
find,
email.
figure it out.
Do you have a Gmail account?
For that.
I mean,
One
you
I've
could
never
also
used.
just,
Yeah, me too.
you could also just turn it into a zip archive.
Same
You
problem.
sent
And
me,
send it over email.
When I know someone's come, I go to
Yeah.
Gmail.
All right, I'll
Yeah.
figure it out.
They're probably,
That's what Robin Flynn is for, right?
Right.
Yeah, do
Right.
tech help.
Okay.
I mean, as opposed to the orientation materials, this might be something that, doesn't need significant privacy restrictions on sharing if it's a bunch of articles and strategic plans that are already public. So we might just be able to make it anyone with this link can view.
I think that's how I have it set up already.
Okay,
But Google is picky about letting me share some of our shared folders or shared drives rather with people who don't have a Gmail address.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
Google.
They make it
It
very
will do
difficult.
it sometimes and then not other times.
You know what, I'll send you a Gmail address.
Yeah,
But-
you can
okay.
use mine, but I sort of need to, I rarely check it, so.
Well, and, Earhart just suggested to, at that due date time, I can just download a zip file and email that to everyone so that they can download it. Although, what are we even talking about? Because you're not like putting an actual article there.
You're putting
probably
links.
Putting a link in, like I'll probably have a spreadsheet there or something where you
Oh.
put the links. But then I can just download that and share it as a PDF and that should work fine.
Well, some of the things will be actual documents, right? Like the
You can I,
an example. No?
there's a risk sometimes in just putting down a link. I think there should be a descriptive phrase as to what it is. That, I know this from my class assignments at, where I teach, that it's much more useful if someone gives a very brief description of what it is rather than simply sharing a link that it's less useful that way, honestly. It could just be a few words or something, but just having a pile of links, is
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't communicate well.
We can save PDFs. of the
that's what I was
articles.
thinking, or print to PDF for articles that are on a web page.
yeah.
You might also have certain access to things through public library and associations that might be behind paywalls or databases that we might not be able to link to.
Library Journal. We don't need, a mountain of stuff, Kim.
Oh,
so-
that's right. Not a
Well,
contest.
Standing is, you'll all be adding to this, correct?
Yes.
Yes,
we
okay.
should all be
So
looking.
everyone who's adding something can write their
I'll
own
look for
little
the stuff
blurb
that
about what the thing is.
Tom Hardy,
Yeah.
Rick Hardy sent in the past. And
Yes.
gather that up. Okay.
Okay, you shared one a while ago that was about.
Oh, yes.
Libraries.
One thing to make it easier is, since most libraries have their strategic plans on their website. so,
Maybe.
We might be able to find them.
That's
located there.
Ours is there.
So each of us, if we find things, we should put, where should we put them? Should we try to upload to the Google folder?
I was going to make a folder for this material to live in, and part of it would be if you had a PDF that you were uploading to it, you could do that. If you have a link and kind of a blurb about the link, we could put that in an actual Google Doc with all of those things in it. So one doc and then whatever gets uploaded separately.
So we could send you links that you would put in a doc, or?
You would add it.
We
You
would
would
add,
have
it, right,
access
okay,
to it.
yeah.
If you need help, of course.
Yeah. No, I can. Okay, so let's move through. We've got a few more things on the agenda. Thanks, like we're set for that. Okay, Library Arts and Exhibits Committee, Carol.
Not much new. Well, it was lovely to see that the wall has been painted and the mask exhibit has just come down in time for the painting, and Gail is planning to put up the new exhibit a little bit early. And she already has the images for the website for the next exhibit, which is Watercolors by Nancy President Van Broek. And we're all set for October, and then after that will be the Needham Art Association. So we're organized through the end of the year. Our next meeting has not been scheduled, but it may happen right around the time of our next September meeting. I don't know if our trustees meeting, but it won't be too long till we meet again. We need to decide, hopefully, on a good portion of 2023's exhibitors to recommend to this board to approve.
Any questions or comments on the art committee? Okay. Then the Kyber series, I mean, that's Anna Geralda Kurz. So, and she's not here tonight, but I don't know if anybody else has information or anything about that. No, okay. And okay, Friends. I don't know, Jay. You often. Speak.
Just a couple of things. I don't think they meet in August, but there's a book sale in September that's, on the horizon. And some people they've been putting together, another set of speakers, the program series for the year, and they've been making some good progress on that. I think that'll be announced, perhaps in the next month or so. There's been some thought and effort also about potentially a major event in honor of the Friends 50th anniversary. And also, I think there's a foundation anniversary, but some sort of event people have been talking about at the town hall, that second floor, beautiful room where, you sell tickets, and efforts have been made to find possible, guest speaker or speakers. It's a difficult path to find someone that on the one hand is affordable and on the other hand will comfortably fill the room. I'm assuming we can maybe fill half the room based on civic pride and friends and family. But you do want to have so anyway, ongoing efforts. There were some close calls and some continuing conversations. If anybody, one lesson I've learned is that if you have a connection, if anybody knows anybody who knows anybody who knows anybody who would be wonderful and available and interested, well, there's a fee to be paid, but not a, not probably a very, very large fee. So anyway, any suggestions about that? That's a process that's been ongoing and is continuing.
All right,
That
thanks,
would
Jay.
be, by the way, in April 2023, potentially. there's a particular date, but that's sort of, if it happens, that might be when it happens. Or if we
Alright,
find
well,
somebody else, it'll be whenever they want it to happen.
Okay. Any thoughts or comments on that? Okay. And Library Foundation, we don't have Joan Smith here tonight. Did we miss, did I miss equity and inclusion? Where was that? Equity and inclusion, I did skip that, so any thoughts? Does anyone have anything on equity, the equity inclusion resolution? Anything new to add or upcoming events?
I'm not sure about, Anna usually reports about the book club.
Right,
But, Carol had attended gift acceptance policies through DEI lens. I also had attended a leadership meeting for the town that was about DEI. That was in June, but I had forgotten it in the last report, so I just wanted to mention it.
was there anything
And we had
townwide to, communicate with us about equity and inclusion, the town meeting? Anything that you think is worthy of, filling us in on? I know, it sounds like it was in June, so maybe a long time ago now.
It was like the leadership group, like so all the fellow directors of different departments,
Mhm.
working with the DEI firm, talking about why DEI is important and that kind of thing. And getting us focused around that so that all departments are
And mostly related to hiring filling town positions or,
not just,
No.
I think just everyone's personal attitudes are political in that sense, right? So getting people to have those harder discussions, so it's very discussion based.
no,
Yeah.
great.
But it'll be a continuing series of things for the leadership group. We also had a virtual LGBTQ plus author panel last month. And that was with Emery Lee, Timothy Janofsky, Katie Robert, and Olivia Waite. And then a local author panel about writing for the LGBTQ plus community. So those are some of the highlights from our DEI report that's in your director's packet.
Yes, okay, sounds good. And otherwise,
Could I
Yeah.
just
Carol?
request if anybody attends to let Kim
Oh, yes,
know
thank you.
for the September meeting, anything you attended in August.
Mhm.
So we don't, so that you have statistics, you can just go back to these, everything will be together. There won't be something in the minutes that, oh yeah, who did
Yeah.
what in addition to this.
To notify Kim in advance of the coming, I don't think there's a lot going on in August. is
Yeah,
my
probably
impression,
not much,
But
but same idea, for the month before. And so, we have a track record that we can look back at without too much effort, poring over minutes. And
Right.
and I mean, I think it's very interesting to see these details about, what these things are. I mean, sometimes you just say, well, bought 16 books, and that's fine too. But it is interesting to see about the courses and just what they were. To me, it's interesting.
Yeah.
To see. So I thank you for putting a little detail in
yes.
that.
Thanks. Okay, so we're down to the end of the agenda here. We have trustees' comments. Anybody have general comment with any?
Hot enough for you?
I have one little one.
Yeah.
I never thought that we would be at the place we are. Not even 10 months into your, Kim, starting as director here. I didn't think that you would have your feet as wet as you already do. Really, there's a lot of different stuff to kind of adjust to in a different library system. And, I'm really kind of flabbergasted how far along you feel that you're ready to do the strategic plan. And, the space plan is going to come together. It's quite clear that something's going to happen on that. And really, a lot of ground has been covered. It's, quite a credit, I think.
Thank you.
And, yeah.
That is true. Thank
I
you.
don't feel that way generally, but then when I list out the things that have happened or are happening, it feels like a lot. But I have a really great team, and then I have all of you, so it's been not easy, but
Yeah,
it's
I'm
been
sure
going
it's
well.
been a whirlwind year for
Yeah.
you so
Yeah.
far. And
Yes.
I also am quite impressed that you've gotten so many balls into the air, keeping them up there very competently. So, thank you, Kim.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Karen.
Okay, then,
I just want to
Eric?
thank everyone on the board who's been helpful as I start this process. And I've had some great conversations on the side already. Kim and I have met. Great conversation with Jay, and as well, I'm going to have one with Rob soon.
okay,
And so I just appreciate the kind of help that I'm getting from different folks and the offers of help as well that I haven't had a chance to take up yet to onboard me. So I want to thank everyone.
great.
I was gonna, we're giving out compliments. I'm really thrilled by the depth of your, experience and background to add to the board. It's, it's gonna be fabulous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it took 25 minutes to go through the minutes today.
Oh, yeah, well,
I mean, all the-
And
And
whose
yet we're
fault
still
is
on
that?
time, so.
We're still on time.
Yeah, that's fair.
if we hurry, we'll still be
Well,
on
yeah,
time.
that's sure.
All right, so we need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Oh,
And a
Oh,
second,
second.
all in favor of adjourning tonight?
All right.
Say aye. All opposed? Okay, we are adjourned.
Good night, everybody.
Have a nice
Bye.
night.
Enjoy the Cape Day.
Yeah, have fun at the Cape.